Once upon a time, in the beautiful kingdom of Yutzava, ruled King Eldrin and his beloved Queen Cynthia. They had a daughter, Princess Elowen, who was the heart and joy of the kingdom. The land flourished under the king's wise rule until the day King Eldrin fell gravely ill. Knowing his end was near, he entrusted his younger brother, a powerful wizard named Malgarath, with the care of his family.
Protect them, Malgarath. Watch over Cynthia, Elowen, and our kingdom.
Of course, brother.
But Malgarath had no intention of fulfilling his promise. Secretly, he had always coveted the throne, and with the king gone, nothing stood in his way, except little Princess Elowen. Not long after the king's passing, Malgarath devised a plan. One day, under the guise of care, he offered to take young Elowen on a walk in the woods, to help ease her sadness.
We shall gather herbs for your mother. Come along.
Elowen, trusting her uncle, agreed and followed him into the forest. They wandered deep into the woods, where the trees grew tall and the sunlight barely touched the ground. Once there, Malgarath made his move.
Wait here while I fetch some water from the stream.
But instead of fetching water, Malgarath pulled out his wand and cast a dark spell. In a swirl of magic, Elowen was transformed into a raven. Her soft voice turned into helpless caws, her tiny hands into wings.
Now no one will find you, my dear Elowen.
Malgarath sneered before disappearing, leaving the frightened raven alone in the forest. Elowen, now a raven, cried out, her sorrowful caws echoing through the trees. Her heart broke as she realized what had happened. But her cries didn't go unheard. Deep within the woods, a kind-hearted tree fairy named Silver heard the raven's mournful calls. Appearing in a flash of light, Silver's wings shimmered as she approached.
Why are you weeping, little one?
Though Elowen couldn't speak, the magic in Silver allowed her to understand the raven's story. The fairy's heart softened.
I cannot break the curse, but I can help guide you home. Follow this trail of fairy dust, and your love will guide you back to your mother.
With the fairy's help, Elowen the raven found her way back to the palace. It took several days, but finally, she flew through the windows of the grand castle. Meanwhile, Queen Cynthia had grown deeply worried. She asked Malgarath repeatedly about Elowen's whereabouts, but he always gave the same answer.
The royal army is searching far and wide, dear sister. They have not found her yet.
Days turned into weeks, and Queen Cynthia's heart sank with despair. She didn't know that her daughter, in the form of a raven, had returned to the palace. Though Cynthia didn't recognize her, the raven's eyes touched her heart. Elowen visited her mother every day, perching on her windowsill or sitting beside her as Cynthia wept. Unbeknownst to the queen, Malgarath was growing bolder. He began bringing documents to Cynthia, trying to trick her into signing away the kingdom's power.
It's just another routine, sister.
He would say this, urging her to sign. But each time the queen was about to sign, the raven swooped in, knocking over ink bottles and tearing the papers with her claws. Frustrated, Malgarath continued scheming. But Elowen, now determined to reclaim her true form, waited for the perfect moment. One night, when Malgarath carelessly left his magic wand on the table, the clever raven seized her chance. She flew down, grabbed the wand in her beak, and hurried to her mother's chambers. Queen Cynthia, startled by the raven's actions, took the wand from her gently. As she turned it over in her hands, a swirl of magic filled the room. In a burst of light, the raven transformed back into Princess Elowen.
Mother, it's me.
Elowen cried, running into Cynthia's arms. Cynthia gasped in disbelief. Tears of joy welled in her eyes as she hugged her daughter close.
Elowen, my precious child, where have you been?
Through her tears, Elowen told her mother everything. She narrated how Malgarath had taken her into the forest, cast a spell to turn her into a raven, and abandoned her there. She told her how she had found her way back with the help of Silver, and how Melgarath had lied all this time. Outraged but composed, Queen Cynthia realized the full extent of Melgaratha's treachery. The next morning, armed with Melgaratha's wand, the Queen and Elowen confronted him in the throne room. Melgarath smirked when he saw them.
Ah, so you found your way back, dear niece. But it changes nothing. The kingdom will be mine.
Without hesitation, Elowen raised the wand and, with her newfound strength, swirled the wizard's wand. In an instant, Melgarath was transformed into a withered, dried leaf. And in no time a gust of wind swept through the room, carrying the leaf away, far into the sky, where it crumbled to dust. Elowen then cracked the wand in half, its magic forever broken. The kingdom of Yutzava was safe from Melgaratha's dark ambitions. Elowen stood tall beside her mother, her eyes filled with quiet determination. She had taken her revenge, not out of hatred, but to protect her family and her kingdom. The people of Yutzava celebrated the return of their beloved princess, and peace was restored once more. From that day on, Elowen grew into a wise and just ruler, always remembering the strength it took to reclaim her throne. A forest where she had been lost was renamed Elowen's Glade, where magic still lingered in the air, and fairy dust sparkled on the leaves. And so, Queen Cynthia and Princess Elowen ruled together, their bond stronger than ever. And they all lived happily ever after.